Hey everybody, this is Coop from Demonic Legion. I played a game today with my Demons of Chaos versus a Legions of Chaos list. We were playing 2,500 points. So I took a Great Unclean One who was a level 4 of Lore of Nurgle. He had an Exalted gift and a Lesser gift. For the Exalted gift, I rolled up 1, which is the Aura of Disruption, which means as long as this model's on the field, you get an extra dispel die to all of your attempts. That's my favorite Exalted gift, and I was really tempted to take it, but I decided just to defer to the Eternal Blade, which increases your number of attacks, weapon skills, strength, and initiative by D3. If it were on any other greater demon, I would have kept the Aura of Disruption, but the Great Unclean One has pretty low initiative at 4. His weapon skills are only 6, and he only has 5 attacks compared to 6 on the Bloodthirster and Keeper of Secrets. So the Eternal Blade makes him just killer in combat, so I couldn't turn that down. For the lesser gift, I rolled up Skill Swallower, which is whenever you beat a character, you get to increase any stat of your choice by 1 for the rest of the game. For heroes, I've got a Herald of Nurgle with the Regeneration Locus, a Greater Gift, which I rolled a 1, which is a terrible gift. It's you can sacrifice D3 wounds in the model to add D3 plus 1 power dice in your magic phase, which I think is just I don't know how they put that gift in. It's just terrible because all of the heralds have 2 wounds, so there's a 2/3 chance you're going to kill your character if you were to actually use that. And it's very bad also on greater demons, just because they're already susceptible to things like poison attacks and high volumes of low strength attacks because they have no armor, so you really don't want to be giving up wounds. So I quickly deferred that to the Fencer's Blades, so the Herald of Nurgle has an extra attack, weapon skill 10, so most people are hitting him on 5s, and a lot of them hit him on 6s. He's the BSB, and then I have 29 Plague Bearers with full command. They got the Banner of Swiftness to get into combat quicker, 2 units of Pink Horrors, 2 units of 5 Chaos Furies and Nurgle. I marked them in case I roll double ones in the magic phase and have to take instability tests. Also, the mark is nice so that they can march if the enemy is close by. They're leadership 2 normally, so the mark makes it possible to march. I have 2 units of Beast of Nurgle, 1 with 4 and 1 with 3. I've got a Soul Grinder with the Mark of Nurgle. He's got the Claw and also the Stone Thrower upgrade. And then I've got a Skull Cannon of Khorne. So we rolled up Dawn Attack. I got very lucky and did not roll any units of mine in reserve, so all of mine started on the table. My opponent rolled up a couple, and I'll discuss that a little bit later. So here's the right flank. I've got the Beasts, the Great Unclean One, Pink Horrors, and Furies. The Pink Horrors here have the Infernal Gateway, which is great. 2d6 strength, 2d6 hits. I've got my big Plague Bearer block in the middle, some Furies behind them. I've got my Beasts of Nurgle to the left of the Plague Bearers, some more Horrors in the back who have Blue Fires of Tzeentch, which is a signature spell, does d6 strength, d6 hits. I've got the Skull Cannon on the left, and then a Soul Grinder on the far left. My opponent has a Skull Cannon. He's got 3 Rat Ogres, so he was playing the Grand Legions of Chaos list or something like that, so he could take some of the Skaven units. These guys are really nasty. They have 3d6 shots each, so he's starting off with 9d6 shots, and they hit really well. They're quick to fire, something like that. So I think they're strength 5. They might be armor piercing. I'm not sure. So those are really nasty. He's got a normal Khorne Chariot over here. He's got a big block of Nurgle Warriors of Chaos with halberds and shields. Shields, so that he's got a 3 up against shooting. They look like they're Khorne, but he's playing them as Nurgle. and he has a unit of 3 Skull Crushers with a Chaos Lord. Um, I'm not exactly sure what he's kitted out with. He might actually just be an Exalted Hero, and I think he's got Strength 7 attacks and a couple other things. So he rolled up uh, his Vermin Lord, one of his Gorbeast Chariot, and then 12 double hand weapons, Khorne warriors in reserves as well. So he got pretty unlucky with that. He got 3 units in reserve, one of them being his Vermin Lord. So I ended up deploying first, and I ended up going first. He put all of his units very far up, so this is a short game. We got into combat almost immediately. And for the Great Unclean One, I should say he rolled up, I think a 1. I think he rolled up a doubles, and I ended up taking Blades of Putrefaction, or Putrefaction. So he gets Miasma of Pestilence, which is an augment that any enemies in base contact with the unit you put it on have -1 to their weapon skill and initiative, and you can increase that to D3. Blades of Putrefaction gives them poison. Curse of the Leper is an augment or a hex that either reduces toughness or increases it by D3. It's a really great spell. And then Fleshy Abundance gives a unit regeneration, or it increases their regeneration. So I like that for my Beast of Nurgle and my Plague Bearers. It can give them a 3 upwards regeneration save instead of a 4 up, which is really nice. And same with the Blades of Putrefaction. It can increase their poison from a 6 up to a 5 up. So Lore of Depth is really a seductive lore, and it's hard to not take it just because all the character snipes and Purple Sun. But Lore of Nurgle is a really great lore, and unsurprisingly, it has great synergy with Nurgle units, and it just fits perfectly on the Great Unclean One, so it's really a great option. So turn 1 Demons. I take my Chaos Furies on the right and put them in front of his Skull Crushers. Those guys are frenzied, so either they're going to charge into the Furies, overrun in this direction, and be out of position, or they're just going to sit there. So I was happy about that. I moved my Beast of Nurgle in front of the Chaos Warriors. I could have charged him, but I decided to wait. I'd rather him charge me so that my next turn I can get some counter charges in, and also so I can try to clean up some other things in the center lines. My Skull Cannon was, we both deployed as close to the line as possible for dawn attack, so my Skull Cannon had a pretty easy charge. I think he needed a 9 on Swift Stride. I guess it wasn't easy, but it was average, so he ended up getting into the Chariot. I'm pretty happy about that because of impact hits. And then I just moved to my Soul Grinder. This is just another shot of my sides after movement. The Chaos Furies are behind the building. I decided to leave them there until they're needed. I don't want them getting shot at or anything. And then I just moved up my Beast of Nurgle and my Infernal Gateway Horrors. During the magic phase, I rolled up a 6. I didn't roll any magic phases above 7 this game, so I couldn't do a whole lot in the magic phase. I did get off 2 spells, though, this round, which was really nice. I got Curse the Leper off on his warriors, so they have their toughness reduced by 2, so they're down to toughness 2. And then I put Fleshy Abundance on my Beast of Nurgle so that they have a 3-up regeneration save. My opponent said that I should go for the poison one, and I said, no, I'll just go for regeneration. And it turns out when he charged the next turn, he had the Banner of the Eternal Flame, so I really should have gone for the poison one. And then the Skull Cannon combat over here, I should say during shooting, I take off, I think, 2 Warriors of Chaos with the Stone Thrower upgrade on the Soul Grinder. I hit a lot of them. I think I might have got a direct hit, or I might have only scattered 2. But the problem was he's got a 3-up armor save against 3-up armor save when he's out of combat, so I couldn't sneak through too many wounds. This combat over here, I think I rolled pretty well for the impact hits. I think I rolled a high number, but I did not wound with a lot of them. I think I rolled a couple ones. So I think I put 3 wounds on this chariot. He ends up putting 2 back on me, because one of his horses actually wounded me. I just couldn't roll armor saves. And I end up winning combat and running him down. It looks like I might run into this warrior block from this picture, but when we did it out, I barely missed them, so I overran to about here. And here you can see them after the overrun. I've got 2 wounds on them. So turn 1, Legions of Chaos. He charges his warriors into my Beast of Nurgle, and he charges his Khorne units into my Furies. So these are Nurgle warriors. I'm sorry. So that actually wasn't that bad of a decision on his part, just because he's got the Mark of Nurgle, so I'm hitting on 5s, and then also he'll be able to get some magic things off in his face. He's got a level 2 Nurgle Sorcerer in here. He brings on his Gore-Beast Chariot, and he brings on his warriors. So he made a slight mistake. He thought he might have been out of line of sight of my Beast of Nurgle, and I took out, the angle checker, and he was just barely in line of sight, so I could make this charge next turn with the Beast of Nurgle. It was about as close as I could get, but I just barely clipped the chariot. And then he just moved up his Skull Cannon to take a shot at, I think, my Soul Grinder, and he brought on his Vermin Lord in the back. He's the one that has a 4-up ward save, and also can reroll his Warp Lightning cast, I believe, and whenever he casts Warp Lightning, it automatically does 6 hits. So he's also got 6 wounds, so he's pretty nasty. During the magic phase, he gets off Miasma of Pestilence, which reduces my weapon skill and initiative by 3. So now I'm weapon skill 1 instead of 3, and I'm going to be hitting on 6s. I end up killing a couple of warriors just because I rolled up so many attacks with my beast, and I got a decent number of poisons. But he ends up winning combat. I rolled pretty well for my instability, and I only took a couple wounds, since the Great Unclean one's within 18 inches, and also the Herald of Nurgle's right here with the BSB, so that was no problem. Turn 2 Demons. I take my Great Unclean one into his Juggernauts, and I take my, what are these guys called? Beast of Nurgle into his Gore-Beast Chariot, and I also fly up my Furies as far as they can possibly go to chaff up his warriors. So the way he's going to overrun, he can potentially get into my pink horrors. I could have. It was tough for me to avoid that. The way that the Furies were positioned previously, this is the furthest I could fly them up, and if I angled them any more, so that he'd overrun more in this direction, he would have been able to sneak through and get my pink horrors. The way it is now, I don't think he can angle himself and get through and clip my pink horrors. So this is about the best I could do. He needs, I think, a 7 or 8 to overrun into my pink horrors. So, I'll delay combat at least a turn, so that's fine. Over here, this is a shot after combat. Not much happened in the magic phase. I don't think I even got anything off. I used the Stone Thrower to try and kill his Vermin Lord. I got a direct hit, but he ward saved it. And the Skull Cannon turned around and took some shots at his Rat Ogres. I think I did 2 wounds with Grape Shot. This is after combat, and he had declared a challenge, and I had to accept. I really whiffed my hits, so I only did 2 wounds to his champion, and his champion did 1 to me. He's steadfast, so he just stuck around. Over here, I easily took care of his Gore-Beast Chariot. and I didn't kill it, but I won. I think I might have won by one because I did one wound to it and I charged and he did one wound to me. So I tested to restrain because he's so close to the table edge and he just ran off. And then over here he did a couple more wounds to my beasts. I have 3 wounds on one of the beasts after combat, and having the Great Unclean One nearby and the BSB really helps minimize that. Turn 2, Legions of Chaos. He takes his Khorne Warriors into my Furies. He easily kills them during the combat phase. And over here, he puts 3 wounds onto my Soul Grinder through the Rat Ogre shooting. They're pretty nasty. They need 6s to wound, but he rolls up so many hits that it's not really a problem. Actually, sorry, there are 5 wounds in the Soul Grinder. He had done 3 previously, and then he did another 2 this turn, so he's really been picking off wounds there. After combat, the Warriors run up, and they roll a 6 to overrun. If he'd rolled a 7, he would have gotten into my Infernal Gateway Horrors. And then over here, he loses his champion to my Great Unclean One, but he is or his Exalted Hero to my Great Unclean One, but he's steadfast and he sticks around. Turn 3 Demons. So I bring my Beast of Nurgle into the back of these warriors, and I ended up reforming my Pink Horrors. They could just barely turn, so that they can cast Infernal Gateway on hopefully his Vermin Lord or whatever's nearby. And I take my Plague Bearers and my Soul Grinder into his warriors. So after instability, I was only left with 1 Beast of Nurgle, so I could fit everybody in. And I take my Chariot, my Skull Cannon, into his Rat Ogres. I'm feeling really good about that one. So during the magic phase, I don't think I'm able to get anything off. Oh, actually, you know what? I cast Infernal Gateway on his Vermin Lord over here. I roll Strength 7 for the spell, and then I roll Snake Eyes for the number of hits. So I end up doing 1 wound, but he ward saves it, so that was a shame. At the end of combat, his warriors are gone. They didn't die to a man, but the beast ran them down. And then I just restrained and reformed with the Soul Grinder and Plague Bearers. The Plague Bearers are faced this way so that they can go help the Great Unclean One get out of combat sooner. He's kind of whiffing his attack, so I want to be done over there. And the Soul Grinder is facing this way, just because if by some chance he doesn't kill me with shooting, I can charge into his Rat Ogres or something, or maybe the Skull Cannon. As you can see over here, my Skull Cannon is dead. I did 2 wounds on the impact hits. I didn't. When you do impact hits with the Skull Cannon, if you do wounds, you can roll a die for each wound you do, and on a 4-up, you gain a wound back. I rolled a 1 and a 3, so I didn't get any wounds back. And then his Rat Ogre was just able to sneak 2 wounds through. I had 2 5-up saves with armor and ward, and I just couldn't make a single one, so the Skull Cannon popped. And over here, I think the Plague Bearers ended up getting Miasma of Pestilence on them, so anything in base contact has -1 initiative and -1 weapon skill. Over here, the Beasts of Nurgle kill his warriors, and his warriors break, and I catch them, and they just stop 1 inch away from the Pink Horrors. There's a shot over here. I'm having real trouble for some reason killing his Skull Crushers. I do 2 wounds, so he's still steadfast. He does 1 wound to me. Closing thoughts. So I didn't really take any more pictures. Let me just explain what happens at the end of the game. His turn, he moves his Vermin Lord back here in this vicinity. He ends up killing a couple Plague Bearers with Warp Lightning and a few other things in the magic phase. I end up raking and killing these Skull Crushers, my Great Unclean One. I think they fled. I couldn't catch him. they rallied, and then I got back into combat with them, or I might have caught them on the flee. Something like that. So I ended up getting the points for these guys. And then my next turn, I got Curse the Leper off on his or on the Vermin Lord, which reduced his toughness. I was lucky I rolled a 6, so I reduced his toughness by 3. So now he's toughness 3. I rolled up Infernal Gateway, and I did maybe 5 strength 7 hits. I ended up doing 3 wounds to him with Infernal Gateway, and then because he's a low toughness, he failed his Warp Flame check, and I did a couple more wounds with that. So I think he was down to 1 wound, and then maybe the next turn I ended up killing him with Blue Fire as a Zinch or something, so I just killed him with magic. At the end of the game, I was left with everything except for I lost both my units of Furies, one of the Beast of Nurgle blocks, the one that had 4 in it, my Skull Cannon, and my Soul Grinder. I think I might have also lost Pink Horrors to shooting, the tan Pink Horrors. My opponent was left with 2 Rat Ogres and the Skull Cannon. I just wasn't able to get to them with the remaining turns. The Rat Ogres are kind of far away, and the Skull Cannon I couldn't quite get to with magic. I was also really pulled off in this direction due to the fleeing of the Khorne Skull Crushers. So some closing thoughts. I really didn't think that the special character from Skaven End Times was that great. We didn't really roll super high on the magic phases, so that might have been a reason why. But he just didn't seem as scary as some of the other characters like Orgoth's Demon Spew or Karl Franz or Malekith. So so he didn't do too much. But those Rat Ogres are really good. So if you play Skaven, or I guess if you play the Grand Legions of Chaos, those Rat Ogres are pretty fun. You can do a lot of shots. They hit really well, and they're pretty high strength, and it really helps out with warriors who don't have very much shooting at all. It was a really fun game. My opponent tends to play more fun lists, and I kind of brought a more competitive list. So I wasn't super surprised at the turnout, but he was a really great guy to play against, and it was a fun game. A couple comments on my list. I really like everything that's in it. I don't think there's really anything I would change. Maybe I don't need the shooting upgrade on the Soul Grinder, and it's moving around some points. I could probably fit in another beast for that, but I think it's a good list. It's really susceptible to Purple Sun and Pit of Shades because of all the Plague Bearers and Beasts. But if your opponent doesn't have that, they do really great. The huge tar pits. Lore of Nurgle's excellent. You get spells that reduce your opponent's weapon skill, which means that if there were, elves and they have weapon skill 4 or 5, if you can get it down to 3, then they're hitting on 4s on your Nurgle units, and then 5s because of Mark of Nurgle. So instead of elves hitting on 4s, they'll be hitting on 5s, which is really nice. And then if you increase the poison, your Plague Bearers and your Beasts of Nurgle already have poison, so if you can give them the Blades of Putrefaction, now you're hitting with poison on 5, which is really nice. They're only strength 4 on Plague Bearers and Beasts of Nurgle, so you do lose a lot of you do miss out on a lot of wounds when you're rolling to wound most of the time. Even on toughness 3 things, you're missing a third of the wounds. So being able to poison on 5 and 6 is really nice. And then increasing the regeneration is great. It didn't really make a difference in this game because he had Banner of the Eternal Flame, but if you get that off on beasts who have toughness 5 and now they regen 3, it's just going to be a nightmare for your opponent to deal with. And then my last spell was I rolled a Poison, Regeneration, Miasma, Pestilence. Like Poison, Regeneration, reducing their weapon skill, and also Curse the Leper. Curse the Leper is a great spell. It's great utility because it can be an augment or a hex. There are definitely times where you want to increase your toughness. If maybe they get into your Pink Horrors, you can throw that on there and make them stick in combat. Or if you got your Beast of Nurgle, makes it so that they can wound easier. So that's really a great spell. And the other two spells are damage spells. So I didn't roll up any of the damage spells, but Lore of Nurgle is really a great choice, especially if you bring your Great Unclean one. I was lucky that my opponent rolled a misfire with his Skull Cannon when he was trying to kill my Great Unclean one. He couldn't shoot for the next turn, so that's one reason why the Great Unclean one was so successful, because he couldn't be shot. But he's really, the Great Unclean one's durable, so he's definitely a good Greater Demon to take. So that's it. It was a fun game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.